This morning, a pay rise is on the way for millions of Australians after the Fair Work Commission lifts the minimum wage. Inflation to soar, the Reserve Bank's dire warning for a cost of living reality check. And pain at the pump, petrol prices spike across Perth, where you can still find cheap fuel.
This is 7 Morning News live from Perth with El Giorgio.
Good morning. The Fair Work Commission has awarded a pay rise to millions of Australians on the minimum wage, as the soaring cost of living coupled with inflation saw pay packets going backwards. Taylor Aitken has the details in Canberra.
Good morning. Well, the Fair Work Commission has gone beyond expectations, awarding a 5.2% increase to the minimum wage. It is a significant decision by the Commission, boosting workers' wages to $21.38 an hour, taking the national minimum wage to $812.60 each week from July 1st. The decision affects 2.7 million workers, many of whom have felt the cost of living crunch in recent months, with the Commission saying the decision will protect the real value of wages for the country's lowest paid workers. The government had been pushing for a wage rise at least in line with inflation, which is currently sitting at 5.1%, but it is expected to keep climbing. Unions had asked for as much as 5.5%, but businesses fear such a sharp spike will leave them hurting.
The union movement is really happy with this outcome. We think it's going to make a significant difference to the pressures that low-paid workers are under with cost of living rising.
That will be a very considerable burden that those businesses will either have to take to the bottom line or pass on to their customers.
Interestingly, the Commission has decided to delay the increase for awards due to exceptional circumstances in 3 key sectors: aviation, tourism and hospitality, meaning workers won't see an increase in their wages until October 1st. So big news for those struggling to get by, with the country's lowest paid workers set to receive more in their hip pocket.
The Fair Work Commission's minimum wage boost could soon be met with a sobering reality check, with fears inflation could also rise. Network Finance Editor Gemma Acton has the details.
The Reserve Bank has been revising its forecast fairly frequently at the moment. Just last month, we were told inflation was likely to peak at 6%, and now we're told to brace for 7% inflation by the end of the year. Governor Philip Lowe has said he doesn't know yet how many interest rate hikes will be necessary to bring inflation under control, but what is clear is that we're just at the beginning of the rate rise cycle. The investment bank Goldman Sachs said today that they're expecting 3 more double rate hikes of 0.5% in July, August and September, followed by 3 single rate hikes of 0.25% in October, November and December. If we get all of those, we're looking at a cash rate by Christmas of 3.1%. It's another weak day for Aussie shares, but compared to yesterday, where around $82 billion was wiped off the ASX 200, it's nothing near as bad as that. The Aussie dollar is struggling as well. It's currently sitting around 69 US cents.
Perth and Mandurah petrol prices have jumped to new record highs. The average price is now $2.14.4 a litre. That beats the previous record set in March before the federal government's fuel excise cut kicked in. Kate Massey has more.
Elle, good morning. Here at Coles Express in Jolimont, you'll be paying $2.28.9 a litre, and there are similar prices across Perth. At Caltex, BP or Ampol, it's a little cheaper. You'll pay $2.24 a litre, and as you mentioned, the average price of $2.14.4 beats the previous record set in March before the federal government's fuel excise cut kicked in. Now, there are 36 sites across Perth still below the average price, including Shell in Alkimos. You'll be paying $1.85.3 there. Although these cheaper prices might seem fairly high, Fuel Watch says by buying from those cheaper outlets, you can save up to $60 a tank. And of course, you'll now have to wait 2 weeks for the next cheapest prices. But if you do need to fill up today, you can check the Fuel Watch website and we'll bring you your cheapest prices in your suburb in 7 News at 6 o'clock tonight too. Elle.
Thanks, Kate. There are growing concerns over possible power outages in parts of the country in just hours as electricity demand strips supply. The uncertainty has already caused major disruption in Victoria as wholesale prices are capped.
The Australian energy regulator appealed for calm this morning. In New South Wales, demand is outstripping supply. There were sporadic minor power outages last night. In Victoria, warnings of blackouts yesterday and today have now been cancelled. The problem? Coal and gas shortages because of floods and the Ukraine war pushed the wholesale electricity price up to $600 per megawatt hour. The regulator has now capped that price at half that. So the generating companies are holding power back from the market because the cap means they lose money.
We're meeting with all generators today and we are reminding them of what they need to be doing. The Australian energy market operators out there encouraging generators to come back into the market.
And if the companies continue to withhold power?
We can take action in the federal court and we can get breaches of up to $10 million per breach.
Ms Savage says the long-term solution, stronger laws to help control the generating companies and greater investment in renewables.
Peter Dutton is in Perth today along with his shadow cabinet as he tries to woo WA voters after the federal election loss. He spoke a short time ago. Let's take a listen.
I've been coming to Perth, to WA for over 20 years as a minister, as a shadow minister and Member of Parliament. It's a dynamic place and I'm very proud that we've been able to hold our first cabinet meeting, shadow cabinet meeting here in WA. It allows us to hear the messages because obviously we were disappointed with the results here in WA at the last election, so there's a lot of rebuilding for us to do. But this is the opportunity for us to commence that rebuild, to listen to the messages, to get an understanding of the priorities for West Australians. And the Liberal Party has had a proud history of supporting and fighting for WA, whether it's on the GST, whether it's in relation to mining, the entrepreneurial spirit that underpins the WA economy here. The Coalition has always been front and centre to support that cause and we recommit ourselves to that. So I'm very proud to be here back in WA. And
a teacher from an elite Perth school has been sacked after accidentally sending an explicit image to Year 8 students. The West Australian reports the teacher from Aquinas College airdropped the image. It's understood it was sent along with others intended to be used for an assignment. The all-boys Catholic school says it acted immediately to permanently remove the casual contract teacher. Residents near Ipswich in Queensland have been warned to stay inside after a truck carrying gas bottles rolled onto a highway. Crews spent a night locked in a battle to contain the gas leak after declaring an emergency.
Good morning. It has been a very long and frustrating morning for commuters on the Warrego Highway at Ipswich, west of Brisbane. At around 1:30 this morning, a truck carrying a load of gas cylinders left the Ampol service station, tried to merge onto the Warrego Highway. His load has come loose and some of those gas bottles have fallen off.
A number of gas bottles have come off the back, two of which have ruptured. Another one is semi-ruptured, so it was stuck on the road for a while.
What is the concern? Was it that it could explode?
Yeah, correct. So with gas, it becomes very unstable.
Firefighters declared an emergency situation. Everyone in this black soil area was told to close their windows and doors, and the Warrego Highway was completely closed. The eastbound lanes reopened about 5 hours later, but it took more than 7 hours for the westbound lanes to reopen. This is the main thoroughfare between Brisbane and Toowoomba. Traffic was backed up for kilometres.
In a major shake-up to the nation's COVID regulations, travellers may no longer need to wear masks in airports. The Australian Health Protection Principal Committee has recommended scrapping the rule, saying it doesn't need to be mandatory, although it does recommend continued mask use. The rule could be dropped as early as Friday midnight, but masks would still be a requirement on planes. You're watching 7's Morning News live from Perth. Still to come, details on Amber Heard's refusal to back down after losing her defamation trial. Plus, asylum seeker battle, a legal bid to block a deportation fails. And the big changes for Instagram giving parents the power. Amber Heard is refusing to back down after losing her defamation trial against ex-husband Johnny Depp. In her first sit-down interview since the trial, the actress blamed a social media onslaught for swaying the verdict. US Bureau Chief Ashley Mullaney reports.
After a jury ruled that Amber Heard defamed her ex-husband Johnny Depp by claiming he abused her, she has once again levelled allegations at him. In a talk show interview this morning, Amber Heard said she was unfairly treated, that the social media onslaught must have impacted the verdict. In this interview, she said that when you're living with violence, you have to learn to adapt. It was at times a tense interview. Savannah Guthrie, the breakfast show host, pointing out audio where Amber Heard could be heard saying that she started some of these fights.
To my dying day, will stand by every word of my testimony. We get the concept of free speech from the Greeks. My understanding of what that means is not just the freedom to speak. It's a freedom to speak truth to power.
The truth is the word.
Yes.
And that was the issue.
And that's all I spoke. And I spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
The Hollywood actress admitted that the pair of them could come across as Hollywood brats. She conceded that they had an ugly, toxic relationship and that she wasn't entirely proud of all of her behaviour too. Still, she's been ordered to pay Johnny Depp more than $10 million, money her lawyer says she simply cannot afford to pay. She now plans to appeal the decision.
A last-ditch legal bid to stop a flight taking asylum seekers from the UK to Rwanda has failed. The flight has been declared for takeoff and will soon depart from a military base in the country's south. The British government initially hoped to deport as many as 130 people. It's now thought that number may be as low as 7. Jailed Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny has gone missing from the prison where he's been serving time, according to close associates. Allies of the imprisoned politician say he's likely being transferred to another jail, which could take days or weeks. Navalny is more than 1 year into an 11.5-year sentence. Social media giant Instagram has announced a series of changes to give the power back to parents. Mums and dads will now be able to limit the time their kids spend on the app and see their followers. They'll also receive notifications about inappropriate behaviour. Internal documents were leaked last year, which suggests the app is damaging to the self-esteem of teenage girls. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and their 3 children are reportedly set to leave their London apartment to be closer to the Queen. As Europe Bureau Chief Hugh Whitfield reports, the move could happen within weeks.
William and Kate have spent the day with the families of the victims of the Grenfell Tower fire tragedy 5 years after the deadly blaze tore through an apartment block here in London. As reports emerged, they're preparing to leave their Kensington Palace base, not far from Grenfell Tower, for Adelaide Cottage, a 4-bedroom house in the Windsor Great Park, very close to the Queen at Windsor Castle, close to Eton College, where George and Louis might be heading one day, of course, where William and Harry went to high school, and close to the Middletons, Kate's parents, who live not far away in Berkshire. It would require a change in schools for the 3 Cambridge children. And this cottage doesn't need staff and it doesn't need renovations either, so it's considered the perfect fit for the young family. Meantime, a short carriage ride away from Windsor, Charles and Camilla have led the Royal Pack at Royal Ascot, where racing has returned. They might have even watched an Aussie winner today. There was no sign of Her Majesty, though. Many of the Queen's horses running at Ascot later in the week.
Stay with us on 7 Sports coming up after the break, including a big setback for AFL's reigning premiers. Plus, the Socceroos fly back into Australia after yesterday's dramatic win. And a soccer superstar awarded the keys to Perth City. That's next. Melbourne captain Max Gawn is set for a stint on the sidelines. Scans revealed the dreaded syndesmosis injury. While he won't require surgery, the club says he'll miss up to 5 weeks. At the Tigers, coach Damien Hardwick confirmed Dustin Martin is highly unlikely for tomorrow night's clash with Carlton. Last night, Games record holder Brent Harvey and St Kilda champion Nicky Winmar were among 8 inductees to the Australian Football Hall of Fame. Port Adelaide's Russell Ebert was elevated to legend status. Our World Cup-bound Socceroos fly back into Australia this evening to celebrate with family after yesterday's dramatic playoff win against Peru.
Obviously, we've enjoyed the night and the celebrations. Some of the boys are still going downstairs at the pool. But yeah, I don't think it's really sunk in yet. It's probably going to take a few days.
New Zealand won't be joining us in Qatar, though. They lost their playoff against Costa Rica 1-0 for the final place at the World Cup. Serena Williams will make her long-awaited return to tennis at Wimbledon in less than a fortnight. The 23-time Grand Slam champion announced her All-England club comeback on social media. Williams hasn't played since Wimbledon last year because of a knee injury. Nick Kyrgios is through to the second round of the lead-up event in Germany, where he'll take on world number 6 Stefanos Tsitsipas. Soccer superstar Sam Kerr will be awarded the keys to the city of Perth. She'll be the first recipient of this honour since Kerry Stokes 8 years ago and the first West Australian-born female to get the keys to our city. The honour acknowledges her sporting achievements, including being Australia's all-time leading goal scorer. The presentation will take place in Forest Place next month, where Perth fans will be given the opportunity to meet the homegrown sporting hero. A shower or two expected across the suburbs this afternoon. Stay with us. We'll bring your weather details right after the break.
This weather report brought to you by Bridgestone Select for tyres and car servicing.
Welcome back. Checking the weather now. We got down to a chilly 13 degrees overnight. Right now it's 18 degrees in Perth City. Taking a look around the suburbs, we can expect temperatures in the low 20s right across the metro area today, including for Scarborough and Fremantle. And it looks like we'll have fairly similar conditions across Perth tomorrow as well. A top of 22 degrees forecast, then a possible storm for Friday, up to 20 millimetres of rain expected. Wet again on Saturday, but showers should ease before West Coast take on the Cats at Optus Stadium in the afternoon, so that is good news. We're looking at similar conditions on Sunday and then possible showers again right across next week. And that's 7's Morning News for this Wednesday. Thanks for your company. Stay with us. We'll have the latest updates right across the afternoon and, of course, in our main bulletins at 4 and at 6 o'clock tonight. I'm Elle Giorgio. Enjoy the rest of your day.